So we've got 18 players in the 2022 class, 8 early enrollees, 10 will arrive in June. So I'm going to read off the 8 that have been on campus, made it through the 15 sessions, played in the spring game. You tell me if any of these made any impressions based on what you heard, saw. Jaden Gould, the cornerback, Jalil Martin, Anthony Grant, you talked about him at running back, already getting some reps. Ernest Hausman at linebacker, Victor Jones at wide receiver, Xavier Morton safety, Richard Torres the quarterback, Deshaun Singleton safety.
Yeah, I mean, right there with that list of guys, Anthony Grant obviously jumps off the chart on that list. He's the guy that's been most talked about in the spring at that running back room. And you saw what he can do on Saturday. So, yeah, he's had himself a good spot and put him up there in the spot where, we mentioned Jacquez Yant earlier as well. And obviously, Ramir Johnson as well is there and played. But, Gabe Urban still is a guy that hasn't practiced yet in the spring, who was the starter going into the season last year. So right now, with that running back room, if I said coming in to start, if they had to play their first game of the year next Saturday, I think Anthony Grant would be the starting running back right now. That's just from what I've seen and heard. So, but there's a long way to go and a lot more talent coming into that room as well. So that's going to be a great room full of competition. And then another name you mentioned, Ernest Hausman, a linebacker, true freshman coming in out of Columbus, Nebraska, has really had a heck of a spring. And you saw he had a lot of plays on Saturday. I mean, his name was called left and right out there. And coaches are raving about Ernest Hausman. And I'm not surprised. Just to look at the kid. I mean, Columbus, Nebraska is about an hour, 15 minutes, hour and a half here from Lincoln. And a kid that obviously come in, it was adopted. Brought in from somewhere in Africa, and kind of learned how, as a young man, learned how to play football here, and has really come a long way and has turned himself into a pretty good football player. Right now, as a true freshman, and not really having that kind of coaching and background and participating in camps like a lot of these kids do, and he's a real joy to see out there right now, and he's going to have himself a good career here now, just with his outing here. Round out that list, I said Javier Morton would be another guy that's had himself a pretty good spring too, but like we said, we haven't got to see much. So yeah, and I'll throw Richard Torres in there for saying that I was just surprised to see Richard Torres out there included in the group of quarterbacks that had a green jersey on, which most people should know that means no touchy, hands off of the green jersey. But Heinrich Harburg did not have a green jersey on, so I don't know what you take from that or not, but I don't know, we'll see. And Richard Torres is a guy that hasn't practiced much at all in the spring because he's still coming off of his ACL injury that he suffered last year in his senior year at high school down there at the game that I was at watching him. So it was good to see him dressed and go through warm-ups and everything, and seeing him on the sideline being a part of the team and yucking it up with the guys there watching the second half.
Greg, you hit on Anthony Grant and the rest of the running back room. It brought to mind seeing Marquise Stepp hobble off to the sideline. He doesn't seem to be able to catch a break.
Yeah, it's hard to read on Marquise Stepp because he was another guy, like I mentioned when I saw Jock Yant, take that first handoff in pregame. Marquise Stepp did the same impression with me. He looked fast as heck too. So I was like, okay, this is going to be fun to see. And yeah, man, I don't know. It's sometimes guys just can't buy a break, like you said. The injury bug just gets to them, and it seems to be like something different every time. But boy, you got to feel for the guy, and luckily there's a lot of time to recover here before fall ball starts back up. But yeah, it's tough to see sometimes when guys just can't get on the field. I mean, another guy we've talked about plenty is Thomas Bononi, who can't manage to get on the field either.
So those are the 8 early enrollees. Then we've got 10 coming onto campus. So I'll run these guys down, and based on obviously you scouting most of these guys. What's that?
Oh, I should have pointed out Deshaun Singleton too. Is obviously a guy that's made a lot of progress and is highly talked about. Travis Fisher loves him, so he's another guy, one of those newcomers that, look out for him too. Sorry.
So out of this next list of the guys that are still coming onto campus here in June, just any thoughts about who you've scouted, who you've seen, and your impressions of wide receiver Janarin Bonner, wide receiver Dakotas Crawford, got running back A.J. Allen ready to come to campus, along with edge rusher Jake Applegate, running back Emmett Johnson, tight end Chase Androff, tight end Brody Tagaloa, Malcolm Hartzog, the cornerback, Gage Stenker, linebacker, and guard center Justin Evans Jenkins.
All right, just going off of that list right there, A.J. Allen's a guy that jumps off the charts that you can't wait to see. And then also Emmett Johnson, too. So we're talking about 2 running backs that you're going to add to this room that we were just already really happy talking about as it was. And then, another guy that you're going to add to that wide receiver room is Dakotas Crawford, a guy that was going to go to LSU until Mickey Joseph come to Nebraska. So, those are the guys right there that kind of just jump out that you want to see and see what they can do going up against the rest of this talent that's already in their rooms that have had a little bit of jump on them. Obviously, you got to come in here, let's say like a guy like Dakotas Crawford, you got to come in here and compete against an Omar Manning and a Trey Palmer and an Oliver Martin, guys that have played a lot of football. So you're going to, be excited to see what he can do joining the team. And, like I said, A.J. Allen and Emmett Johnson, 2 running backs that I think running back's probably the one of the easiest positions to transfer it or, transform yourself into coming from high school to college. I think it's one of those easier positions to pick up just off of your skills alone. And all you got to do is kind of get coached up and work on those attributes that you need to work on. A couple other guys you mentioned there, that I've seen play a lot of football be Jake Applegate out of Lincoln Southeast. Not quite sure what they're going to do with Jake coming in. They're kind of putting him there as an outside linebacker type guy. But I could also see him playing safety as well. He's a big, tall guy and kind of has that more of a safety frame to him than he does. But we'll see. I mean, he's obviously got a chance to bulk up. And then Gage Stinger out of Miller South. This guy is like a 5-tool player. You don't know where they're going to put him at. They might put him at center field or first base or third base or have him catch one game. This kid's just an athlete. He's a football player. So they're listing him as linebacker, but he might be one of those guys that goes in and fills out, like that JoJo Doman type role, or he can also play safety as well, or heck, you can have him play wide receiver, or you could even he played quarterback last year at Miller South and was one of the best quarterbacks in the state. So this kid's an athlete. You put the ball in his hands, he's golden. You put him defending against the ball, and he's golden. So I love both of those guys too. So it's going to be cool to see these guys show up and merge into the team like some of these other early enrollees have already.